Here we go again, huh? It is Joshua Lamb, host of Can't Silence the Lamb. Read it here first. Your boy's back in town. You're probably looking at me, seeing that Tiger Red up top, Tiger Red on the tank, you feel me? And you're like, Josh, it's not Sunday. It's not Sunday yet. And you're right. It's a nice Thursday evening. And it's been a hell of a day. It's been a hell of a day. Ton of meetings, but we're back, live action, ready to rock with the gang. And you're probably thinking like, oh, why are you wearing Tiger Red on a Thursday? Not only are you wearing it on the tank, but you also are wearing it on the brim. I mean, it might be a little bit too white red kind of action, little combo, but I mean, let me do what I got to do. But the reason why, it just seems like the boy can't do no wrong when it comes to this fantasy lifestyle that we be living in, right? And I want to tell you a little bit about it. It's rare. It's rare to do the things that I've done. It's rare to put the teams together that I've put together. You don't just fall into it. It's weeks, it's months, it's years of constantly paying attention to trends, to players, to progress, to different usage that can play out in the end to potentially get you in a situation, in a spot to get you a chip or multiple chips. In my case, it would be multiple leagues, multiple different scenarios, multiple chips to be claimed in one. And I'm here to say that I want them all. I want them all. Is it greedy of me? You might be thinking to yourself, Josh, throw somebody a bone. Allow them to get a dub. Allow them to get a chip. You know what I say back to that? No. How's that? Is that short enough and sweet enough for you? No. How's that sound? Huh? So let's go back on the journey that was, week 9. And what old Joshy boy could put together for the gang. All right? And like I said, I've gotten more involved in not just fantasy football, but also fantasy basketball. I would like to say that I am not only a visionary and a pioneer for fantasy football for the ones that have come before me, the ones that will come after. You know? But I'm also somewhat of a prodigy type, I would say. For fantasy basketball, as somebody who's just getting into the mix, has barely scratched the surface of what this man can do when it comes to that old orange ball on that hardwood floor now. And yeah, do I put together fantastic teams, well-rounded teams with great depth? Not only are they big stars, but I got sleepers in there tossed for value late. Yeah, sure, I do that. I what else am I supposed to do? It's in my nature, you know? And some people are probably like, I'm trying to find sleepers, Josh. Like, I'm doing my best to do the research. Some people don't have it. Listen, I gotta be brutally honest here. People are losing sleep when they got damn George Pickens in their wide receiver 2 spot. You should be losing sleep. And you should be losing weeks. Because if you have a team that isn't destined for greatness, it just you live with it and you live to fight another day and probably another season. Because unless you make some moves where you got somebody else coming into that wide receiver 2 spot, you're toast. You're toast. Extra jelly. Maybe a little drizzle of honey on top for a little extra sweetness. But what I'm getting at is, you're going to have to make some moves. Or you'll never sniff a chip. Don't get me wrong, George Pickens is a good player. I'm not trying to pick on my boy George. But at the same time, let's point out the facts. Let's point out the offense. Let's point out. I'm hanging up a little bit too much on George Pickens, but you're getting my drift. And that's what I pride myself on. I like to be able to look at my roster and think, what do I like to think? I like to look at my roster and I like to think to myself that it's well thought out. It's a well-oiled machine where, sure, my running back might have a bad week, but my wide receiver 2 spot could pop off for about 35, maybe even 30. So it's all about balance. It's all about value. It's all about late round pickups. It's all about not solid waiver picks that might be able to get your team through a rough spot in a couple weeks, or a couple bye weeks, a couple different pickups for maybe a quarterback that you can stash, maybe trade away when somebody else when their shit hits the fan. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. And I just seem to choose the right ways, And I'm not saying that it's bulletproof, that what I do is bulletproof. I'm not here to say that. But when you get to a point when you just can't stop winning, you gotta start thinking to yourself, fuck, should I start a podcast? Is that what that's the only thing that comes to mind. Every time I win, I'm like, I should start a damn podcast. And then I realize 2 days from then, after these thoughts, that I have a podcast and I need to film the damn thing. I keep on I'm not forgetting, but I've been slacking a little bit on filming. Usually it's Wednesdays. Right now it's Thursday. It's been Friday the last couple of weeks. But what I'm getting at is the knowledge that I have needs to be addressed to the fans and the subscribers and the listeners, because what I've been doing, baby, it's been damn near magical. And I'm not going to say that this past week was perfect when it comes to production. And that brings me into a perfect segue to discuss this past week. And what I did, what I liked, what I disliked, and see where that takes us, right? So, wasn't a great week for my favorite team, where I got the boys, where I got Justin Jefferson in the IR spot, but I'm still projected 140 every fucking week. I mean, what else can I do, right? Other than be projected 140 without the best fantasy player in the league active, right? I mean, shit. What would that projection look like when the boy's back in town? So, looking at the roster, Patty Mahomes, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, TJ Hawkinson, Deontay Johnson had to start this week because Amon-Ra St. Brown was on a bye. Deontay Johnson goes out there and gets me 22. This has been discussed from previous podcasts. The kid was looking right. But I was excited. It was my second week with my boy Jamar Chase. I watched the game. Just a strange game. Just a strange game. The Bills were pressing. The Bengals were trying to keep their foot on the gas. Jamar Chase didn't necessarily look the best, but yeah, a little text right there. Jamar Chase didn't necessarily look the best, but it was also, when he got hurt, you could tell that he was only in there just for more of like a decoy option. Wasn't really looking like he was trying to really get fed the ball. But before that, he was looking a little off. I think he had a couple that would slip through the fingertips. Even the ball that he got hurt on, the Jamar Chase that I know probably would have came down with it. So didn't know what was happening there. Puka Nacua had a backup quarterback in. It was a little sloppy. TJ Hawkinson had a decent game. He ended up getting a little banged up. Fairbarn for Houston, the kicker, kicks an extra point and then kicks a field goal, gets me 6, And then next thing you know, he like hurts himself. Like, I don't know if he hurts himself on the damn field goal or the extra point or whatever, but the guy's pulled against my beautiful Buccaneers, and then they throw in a backup running back in the kicker slot, and he's booting touchbacks. He's putting them through the uprights like that's his day job. You know what I'm saying? So I missed out on that. Jamar Chase got hurt. Puka Nacua was really like non-existent because of the quarterback situation. T.J. Hawkinson kind of, I don't know if he came out at one point. Cowboy, I had to keep on the hold on to the Cowboys D. I wasn't dropping any of my guys on the bench to pick up another defense because the Cowboys D's have been solid. But going against Philly, I knew it wasn't going to be great. So looking at it, just didn't put up the best numbers. Patty Mahomes had a fat start, baby. The start was looking crisp. The kid was looking Patty Mahomes-esque. And he goes out there, starts off hot with like 2 tutties, gives me 16 in like the first half. I something like that. 15, maybe 16, maybe 14, maybe 13, one of the 2. One of the 3 or the 4. Shit. Goes out there and finishes the day. I think he ends up, yeah, he does fumble the ball, loses 2. He only goes out there and gives me 16, 15.8 after that hot start. I'm like, bro, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Don't juice my grapes. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I like to ask my fantasy players. Did not juice my grapes. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is, don't go out there with a fat start. Just out the gates, you're steaming. Couple catches on the first drive, maybe even a fat 20-yard run. Next thing you know, we're sitting at 5-point alones. First drive, feeling good. Field goal ended up ruining the drive. Had to settle. But what I'm saying is, don't juice my grapes. Don't make me think you're about to pop off for about 20 cents. Just because you started off hot in that first drive. Don't start off so damn hot. And the next thing you know, at the end of the game, when you had 5 on the first drive, you end up with 11.2 because you got 2 more catches and another 30 yards on the ground. Don't juice my grapes is what I'm getting at. And I'm telling you, it seemed like Patty Mahomes was juicing my grapes. Jonathan Taylor also juiced my grapes a little bit. I'm pretty sure he got in the end zone early. Started off with like 12 quick points, something like that. He only ends up with 18. I'm taking 18, don't get me wrong. You're probably thinking, Josh, let's not get too greedy here. I'm taking 18 from a running back all day long, and I agree. But don't juice my grapes. You know what I mean? Don't juice my grapes by getting into the end zone early, thinking I'm going to get just a banger of a game, and then you simmer, and then you fizzle out. You know what I mean? Because that projected jumps up through the roof, and the next thing you know, it starts to trickle on down because you juiced my grapes thinking that I was about to get crazy pointalones, and you give me nothing after that explosion of goodness. You know? And Alvin Kamara kind of did the same dang thing. He started off pretty hot. My projected was like 140 something at one point. Puka Nacua started off with a little decentness. Jamar Chase started okay. T.J. Hawkins started okay. Deontay Johnson already had his game. All of them fizzled. Puka, 6.2. Jamar Chase, 8.1. Alvin Kamara, 11. T.J. Hawkinson did what I needed him to do, gives me 14. Cowboys D gives me 4. Fairbarn only gives me 6 because he gets hurt, even though the damn other kicker, the running back, I think he booted one through at least. I don't know if anything else would have happened, but if he would have gotten that field goal, we're touching double digits with a little kicker spot now. And I'll take that all day long. Guy's out for this coming week, which is unfortunate. Guy's been good for me. But the bottom line is, I only crack 104.9. I was going to say crack 105. I don't even crack 105. I'm 104.9. I'm right on the line. You know what I mean? And listen, 105 shouldn't win you the week. It just shouldn't. It just shouldn't win you the week. But you want to know why it should win you the week? You want to know why you deserve to win that week? Is when your opponent doesn't even show enough respect. And Stevie Noise, I'm looking at you. And I hope you're looking right back. Because it makes me sick for you to go out there with not a complete roster. You got your damn flex spot on a bye week. Brandon Ayuk just sitting there, 0 points, nothing. Of course he had 0 points. He didn't play this week. He didn't even play. And what you're trying to tell me is you didn't show me enough respect to throw somebody in that flex spot? Listen. When the kid is 6-2 coming into the week, you got to give him your best shot. You got to give him your best shot. This is the best team in the league, baby. I'm not even trying to toot my own horn now. This is just numbers. This is facts. This is the best team in the league. And you're telling me you're coming up against the best squad in the league and you don't put your best foot forward? Makes me sick. And this is Stevie Noise we're talking about, baby. This kid is somebody you don't want to mess with. The kid knows his shit. Yeah, I guess you could say he knows ball. I could say he knows ball about football, sure. It seems like it. I mean, he has Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs. Josh Jacobs was a decent pickup. Brandon Ayuk. His squad's solid, real solid. Herbert's in the quarterback spot, gets Pacheco. So, I mean, Pacheco, Keenan Allen, Brandon Ayuk, all three picks that have panned out super, super well for him. I'm not saying that he knows ball like your boy and Noise. And we need to have that ball conversation. We can go toe to toe now about knowing that ball. Because look at me. I'm wearing that 34 like a Walter Payton on my jersey now. I know some ball. So Stevie Noise. Show me a little respect here. Come out here claiming you know ball and you got a flex spot vacant. Not even vacant. Guy's on bye. You go and check your roster. You got the big bye week symbol right next to the guy in your starting lineup. And what, your first thing you don't think of is, I got to get that switched out. No, instead, you don't respect me enough. And you let it go into the Monday night games and you don't make a change. I'm not going to say anything. Game's tight. I only put up 105 for God's sake. I'm hoping to God you don't fill that spot. Like I said, you didn't show me much respect, but at the same time, I'm almost thankful that you didn't show me much respect by filling that spot. Because if you would have filled that spot, I'm probably taking that L, motherfucker. And to be honest, that just kind of tells you how this week ends. Going into Monday night, he has Herbert and Keenan Allen and Brandon Ayuk on by. All he had to do was I think he may have had somebody to throw in. Maybe? I don't know. All I'm saying, he could have picked up anybody on that shit. Anybody on the waivers for that Monday night. He had a backup kicker sitting there. He had Jimmy Garoppolo on his bench. He could have dropped any of those guys, picked up somebody. Herbert goes out there, kind of lays a stinker, 7.1. Keenan Allen was contained. He had that one fire catch. Kind of pissed me off because I was getting a little close. Had that fire catch, but only gives him 15.7. Dallas Goedert ends up getting hurt. He only gives him 8. Stephon Diggs has a good game. Of course he has a good game against me. Gets that touchdown and a 2-point conversion, which sucked. Isaiah Pacheco was held. He didn't have a great game, 6.6. Josh Jacobs had 2 tutties and 98 yards for 22 fucking points. Of course, he finally has a good game. It's against me. So the matchup was looking pretty damn close. And he had Herbert, he had Keenan Allen, all going Monday night. He had the flex spot that was still not used, so that was going to be going Monday night, if anything. And then he also had Stephon Diggs, which was the Sunday night game, I believe. All of his players, I only think he had one guy that ended up playing in that 1 o'clock slot. So all my guys, most of my guys were in the 1 o'clock slot, other than Jamar Chase, right? So I'm all the way done. My whole team's played. And I'm at 100, I think I'm 96 or something like that. And he still had 7 guys to still play. He had 20 points. And I'm oh God. But he was projected to beat me by 3 because of his flex guy was still not in there. So I'm let's see what he does. Let's see if this guy has enough respect to fill this spot, right? Waiting around. I don't remember it. It's not even crossing my mind. I had other stuff going on that Monday night, right? Game starts. It's probably a couple minutes into the first, and I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, did he fill that spot? Go in there, still in there. Brandon Ayuk just staring back at me, looking at me, just fucking making sure I know that I got just lucked out with some shit like this, right? Herbert goes out there, has a mediocre game, even though, I mean, they won the game, but he didn't play anything special. Like, the game was solid for him, but it wasn't anything special. Only had 136 yards on through the air, no touchdowns, had a couple rushing yards, 7.14. Keenan Allen, 8 catches, 77 yards. With, like, the game, at the end of the game, when, who was it? When Zach Wilson throws that pick, Stevie Noyes had 101 points. I only had 105. And I'm like, oh my God, if they want to be assholes, up 27-6 and throw a touchdown for Herbert, I'm gonna be pissed, right? Luckily enough, I got Eckler in my other league now. They tote that thing to my boy Eckler, and he totes that thing in for extra points for my other league, and I was just squirting by, squeaking by with a nice little dubsky, 105 to 101. And your boy is 7-2 in this league, right? And you gotta love it. I mean, like I said, if you only crack 100 by .84, I'm gonna take that dub now most of the time. Like I say, quick thing that's a little off topic, same topic, but it has nothing to do with my league or my team or this league. Shout out to my boy Luke McDermott. Had Eckler in our other league, my 10 team. And he was down like 20 points. He needed 21 out of Eckler to win it. And he was toast. He was cooked. I'm sure the projection was super low if the game script was being shown on ESPN, because there was no reason for Eckler to really do anything else until Zach Wilson threw that pick that got them down to the 1 yard line because that guy's knees touch. His knee touches at the 1 yard line, give the ball to Eckler at the 1, and he scores 6 extra points for my boy Luke. He ends up winning 104 to 103 on that Eckler touchdown at the end from the pick that had no sort of importance on the game. Insanity. I mean, I've been with the kid for some bad beats, but that was an insane break, especially when he needed it the most. I think it was like 2-6 on the year so far. And now he's 3-6. He's trying to scrap through a little wild card spot, little last second playoff push. His team's solid. Might be able to get there. We'll see what happens. But that was a big dub off of Eckler's 2-tutty game, right? So let's move on to the next week. Or not the next week. Let's move on to what my next week is. I'm playing my boy KY Jelly. Just a fantastic person, fantastic kid. Gotta love him. He's been going through a couple rough patches. Last week, I think he ended up squeaking out the dub. Did he? No, I think he lost. He did lose, didn't he? Yeah, I want to say he did lose. Yeah, he lost. Oh, hold the phone. Hold the horses. Little Mike. Sorry about that little mic problem right there. So my boy KY Jelly. Hold up, bro. Come on. Let me fix this real quick. Let's see if that works. I want to make sure I'm not talking too dang loud into this mic. So my boy KY Jelly goes out there and he ends up catching a little bit of an Elski. I hate to say it, but he had CJ Stroud on the bench. He had 42 points in that game. I know it kills him. I'm not exactly sure who he played last week, but I know it makes him sick. I think he ends up losing. I mean, he almost loses by damn 40. Ain't gonna count. I mean, he may have. No, he probably wouldn't even have had a chance. He still would have lost. I ain't gonna lie to you. He still would have lost. But he's gone through a couple problems, and he's been my guy that I've been trading with the most. I would like to get this volume down a little bit. Is that gonna work? I think that just worked. That worked? I think it did. Nice. So I've traded with the guy multiple times. Multiple times. His team's solid. He's had some problems with his running backs staying healthy. He picked up Kyron Williams earlier on that would just like really saved him, because honestly, if it wasn't for Kyron Williams, that RB2 slot would have been a problem all year, right? But he has Kenneth Walker, who's been Kyron Williams still on IR. Jalen Warren, I traded him. Chris Olave, traded him. Terry McLaurin. He has something McBride. I don't know what his first name is. DeAndre Hopkins. Travis Kelce is on bye. Zay Flowers he's not starting him this week. Cortland Sutton. So team's looking okay. I'm feeling pretty good about this week. We'll see. Hopefully my guys can go out there and perform. If I have another showing like last week, who's to say? When you're getting duds from your team, there's nothing worse, man, than having these high expectations for your team to go out there and just pop off for the boys. You know what I mean? For the gang. And they go out there and just shit the bed. I mean, there's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than being projected 145 and you only go out there and score a hunch up. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing, boys? I mean, it's almost like they don't know that I am counting on them to have a good weekend. Because if they shit the bed, the weekend's shot. I mean, count out the whole rest of the weekend. I can't even look. I can't even speak. I can't even eat. I don't want to look at nobody. I don't want to speak to nobody. I don't want to eat nothing. And I'm starving all the time. I'm always hungry. I love food. Love it. So, yeah. I need these boys to know. And I need these boys to tighten up. Make sure that I'm getting these points. So, looking at this week, I'm feeling pretty good. So, let's jump into the next league, my 10-teamer, where I had to do the damn thing. You know what I'm saying? I was playing against my boy, Duckworth, boy Blakey, and the reason why I had to do a little pause there, because I was thinking to myself, have I played my boy Blake earlier on in the year? And thinking back on it, yes, this is my second time playing my boy Blake, and I gave him that work first time also. A little bit of a closer game the first time we played. A little bit closer of a game. Pretty sure it was came down to the last night, if I remember correctly. But he came in with a pretty banged up team. And not really banged up, more than just the fact that he was screwed. He was screwed with buys. I mean, this is one of the worst bye weeks I've seen. Christian McCaffrey, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Travis Etienne, and Christian Kirk all on buys when I'm playing them. I mean, how beautiful is that? How gorgeous. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I wouldn't have won if those guys were on bye, because I probably would have, because I got that squad on me. But if I'm playing against you and you have Christian McCaffrey, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Travis Etienne and Christian Kirk all on bye, I mean, fantasy gods are looking down on me and just saying, let me toss you a dub right quick. You might be 6-2, but let me toss you a dub right quick. You know what I'm saying? So he had to go into this week with Kareem Hunt and Jeff Wilson Jr. as his RB1 and RB2. I mean, what are we doing? He had Josh Downs in his flex spot. The guy got hurt early. He had 2 points. Kareem Hunt, 9.8. Jeff Wilson, 6.8. Amari Cooper actually went out there and did a little something, gave him 25. Joe Burrow had a good game with 22.32. George Pickens sucked, 1.9. Goddard got hurt. Cowboys D wasn't strong. Dallas's kicker was decent. I had to put in my boy Prescott-Aroo because Kyler Murray was still not cleared yet. So Prescott has been solid for me these last couple weeks. Prescott goes out there and gets me 28.36. The guy has been putting on clinics, and I love it, especially against the Phillies D. If you're going to give me something like this, bro, and I said it, this was the one league that I was like, I need to find a quarterback that is going to suffice for the rest of the year. Because if I am constantly playing with I think, who did I pick up? Who was my quarterback to start this year anyways? Who was it? There's a chance. No, it wasn't. I think I started with Deshaun Watson. I think Deshaun Watson was my quarterback to start this year. I ended up picking Dak Prescott off waivers from my boy Cody. Gotta love it. Guy's been good this past couple weeks. I'll take it all day long. He had 28 this week, 28 last week. Before the bye, he had 25. I mean, what the hell are we doing, Dak? I'm loving what I'm seeing. I'm loving it. You kidding me? If I'm going to pick up a waiver wire quarterback and he's giving me 25 plus, ooh, I mean, that's a chip, baby. That's a chip. And I'm talking, listen, I know we already talked about last league, but last league could be a chip. This league with Dak under center, if he's putting up these kind of numbers, could be a chip. Oh, yeah. I fucking love it. I mean, listen, it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous situation. So Prescott in the quarterback spot. Ramondre Stevenson had a damn good game. 87 yards on the ground, 42 through the air, 4 catches and a tutty, gets me 23. Breece Hall going against the Chargers, weird game. Only gets me 10, but I'll take it. Tyreek Hill, not a great game. Goes out there, 8 catches, 62 yards. What are you going to do, right? 12.5 points. Garrett Wilson goes out there, has a solid game. 7 catches, 80 yards, but he had that fumble. So only gets me 13 points. TJ Hawkinson gets me 14. Chris Olave goes out there. 6 catches, 46 yards. I mean, not 6 catches, 46 yards. You're probably like, that's not great. But then he gets me that tutty, big time tutty early on in the year, or early on in the game. And that's one thing that I've been saying earlier on in this podcast is don't juice my grapes. Don't juice my grapes, okay? This is a prime example of juice in my grapes. And what I'm getting at is, Chris Olave, you score a touchdown on like the first drive, right? You a little out route, right on the pylon, right? Fall in there, give me a tutty early on. And I'm like, ooh, Chris Olave about to pop. A boy juiced my grapes. I mean, the guy had like 2 catches the rest of the game or something like that. He had 3 catches for like 30 yards in the first drive with a touchdown. And I'm like, this boy about to pop, right? Instead, he juices my grapes, only catches 3 more catches for like 13 more yards, and ends up with 16.6, which is respectable. Don't get it twisted. But I thought I was about to get a little 30 piece, or a little 25, or maybe even 20 You know what I'm saying? So, and then I got TJ Hawkinson with the 14. Ravens D balled out for me, gets me 15. Interception, fumble recovery, and only 3 points allowed. Dustin Hopkins does what Dustin Hopkins does, kicks field goals. Even though he missed one, he only gets me 9, which is dirty. Don't get me twisted. But if he would have put that one through, I don't know how long it was, but if he missed it, probably was a 67-yarder. Would have gave me 6-point ruse. That would have been 15 points. I mean, who's to say? I don't really know what he missed, but still, could have been good. All those points to amount to 141.26. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? If my team can put up 141, even if I lose, I'm taking it to the bank. I'm taking it to the fucking bank. Do you hear my words? Do you hear what I'm saying to you here? Huh? If I put up 141, I want you to take all 141 of those points, and I want you to take it to the bank. Listen, if I don't win off of 141 points, I can deal with that. I can understand that. 141 points is respectable enough that if you win, you should have won. If you lose, you probably shouldn't have lost. And if you did lose, the other team just had a banger of a week. And you just got to take it on the chin and just keep it rolling. You know what I mean? So looking at this week, I like what I did. The team was playing solid. I mean, this is also with Dalton Schultz on the pine that scored 27, 10 catches, 130 yards, and a tutty, because C.J. Stroud's that boy. He was on the pine. Nico Collins had 15 points. Some of the other guys didn't do, I mean, whatever. They weren't starting for a reason. 141.26. I love it. Against 86.72. Now I'm going against my boy Tafty this week. Unfortunately for him, fortunately for me, he has Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes on bye. I mean, massive. Not going to lie. Lucked out this past week in this league with Blake, with 4 guys on bye. Lucked out this week with Patty Mahomes and Travis Kelce on bye. You got to love that shit. You got to love it. So I'm hoping with that I can get a little dub now. Hopefully I can get another dub now, right? I'm not projected a ton this week though, which is a little bit surprising. I mean, I think I'm playing against some guys that playing against some teams that are pretty good on their defensive end. Tyreek Hill is on bye, so I am missing out on that production. Um, but none of my guys are projected like a shitload of points this week. Like Brees Hall, 15.7, Garrett Wilson, 13.5, Chris Olave, 14.4. You know what I mean? Like nobody, I'm not getting those massive 18, 19, 20 point projected numbers out of these guys. Prescott, 18. And that's kind of my issue in this league. Of course, Tyreek Hill's projected like 25 a week. You know what I mean? And I love every second of it. But if you have a league, if you have a roster where your top guy is only projected, other than the quarterback, like 16 points, unless everybody else is projected like 16 points, your team might be a little bit low on that projected number, which is fine. Like you said, like I say all the time, projected numbers is bullshit. But it's nice to see that it's up there when you log in on that next week. You know what I'm saying? But this team's been playing well, 7-2 in this league. Hopefully, I can sneak by on another dub, and then get Tyreek Hill back. Kyler Murray's about to be back. I might use him on a little trade bait. Who's to say? Dalton Schultz. I might even have to package him for like maybe like another receiver, maybe even another little running back. Who's to say? I got options. I got to check what the trade deadline is though, because I think it's coming up soon. But let's go into my last league. Probably going to keep this video a little shorter than usual. I mean, it's at 36, so I've been trying to cut it down a little bit. I don't want these babies pushing up to that 55 an hour type situation. I know you all busy now. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into this last league. Hate to say it, but this is my least important league, and I've said it before. Just because I've been getting screwed on just how many points have been scored against me. Looking at it now, I don't know if it's such an outlier now. I mean, it's still pretty bad. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 12 guys. So half of the guys haven't even cracked 1,000 points against them yet. I am at 1,222 points scored against me. There is not another person in this league that has even cracked 1,100. So at least I am at least over 100 and something points scored against me than anybody else in my league. All the other people that have 1,000 points scored against them, 1,008, 1,048, 1,005, I have literally almost 200 more points scored against me in this league, which is unfortunate. But looking at how many points I have scored for me, I am scoring more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I am scoring more than 10 of the other people in my league. This is a 12-team league. There's only one other guy that has scored more points than me. And the funny thing is, the guy who scored more points than me, he scored more points than me, but actually he's put up 1,181. I put up 1,096. So he's got me by like 90 points, a little less than that. He's also 4-5. He's also been screwed. I mean, I don't know if he's just had crazy outlier weeks. He must have, because he's only had 963 points scored against him. Looking at those numbers, he should have a much better record than 4-5. What happened? I don't know. He must have had some crazy weeks. I mean, I gotta know. I gotta know. Let me see. Oh yeah, he's had some crazy weeks. So first week, 93, terrible. 115, decent. 109, eh. Then he goes out there and puts up 221 points. Next week, puts up 176. Goes out there the next week, 95. Goes out the next week, 126 solid. Next week, 117. Next week, 128. So he has those outlier weeks, which is why he's scored so many points. But he's had some absolute duds. I mean, talk about a roller coaster. And I say it all the time. Fantasy football is a roller coaster, baby. Fantasy football is a roller coaster. Roller coaster of fantasy football is literally what the name of this podcast used to be. No, it can't say that. No, you know what I'm saying. So, looking at this past week, I mean, I had to get another dub. Going into this week, I was 3-5. You know what I mean? After just getting screwed nonstop, I was going against a guy that's 6-2, number one person in this league, right? He has Jalen Hurts, Ramondre Stevenson, Kenneth Walker, Jamar Chase, Terry McLaurin, Okonwo from Tennessee, Tyler Lockett. He had Waller on the bench, and yeah, it's pretty much the only people that you need to know about. Waller, and maybe Cortland Sutton, I guess. I mean, the team's okay. I mean, he's definitely getting carried by Jalen Hurts and Jamar Chase. Other than that, like, his team's nothing special. Kenneth Walker's been pretty decent. Of late, he's actually been kind of cheeks. 2.7, 8 points, 13. Nothing special, right? So I thought going into this, I had a shot, especially with this team. My team's been, this is a good team. I mean, let's be honest here. Justin Herbert, Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Chris Olave, Devontae Adams, T.J. Hopkins, and Deontay Johnson, with Amon-Ra St. Brown on the bench, and Deebo Samuel on the pine, Jared Goff on the pine, Alexander Madison on the pine, Jalen Warren on the pine. I mean, this team's super sturdy. Go out there. Justin Herbert sucked for me, 7 points. Jonathan Taylor, 18. Austin Eckler gets me 2 tutties, 21. Chris Olave does a good job, 16.6. Devontae Adams. Listen, as a Devontae Adams owner, as a Devontae Adams manager, I should say. Listen. Let me get into this. Let me get into this a little bit, because this is ridiculous. As a Devontae Adams fantasy owner, I cannot accept 7.4, 12.7, 2.1, 4.9, 8.5. I've only had him for like 3 weeks. But what in the hell are we doing? Is this just the decline of Devontae Adams that we're witnessing? Or is it truly because the offense has been ass, the quarterback has been cheeks, and Devontae Adams hasn't been getting the looks that he deserves? I mean, targets, 4, 5, 7. He had one that was 12. But the last 5 games, terrible usage. Quarterback's been ass. I mean, what are we doing, bro? If Devontae Adams gets back to who Devontae Adams is, my team should be, I mean, only 4 people get into this playoffs now. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make the playoffs. Maybe. If I win out, possibly. I'm going to need some help. But Devontae Adams right now is projected 13.5. Devontae Adams is a guy that's known for being projected 19, 20, 21 points a week. You know what I mean? So, hard to see it, but we'll see if it gets better. I go out there and I put up 127. My other guy, my opponent goes out there. Kenneth Walker sucked. Like I said, Jamar Chase got hurt, 8.1. Akonwa only goes up for 6. Tyler Lockett has 6.2. Sorry, getting a low call there. So he goes out there and only puts up 103. And if you're doing the math, listen, if you watched last week's podcast, you know I went 4-0 last week, 3-0 in fantasy football, 1-0 in motherfucking basketball. If you're doing the math now, 3-0 in fantasy football. I got a double-double by Malcolm Brogdon in the last game of the slate on Sunday to go 2-0 on the season in fantasy basketball. Motherfucker, I am 8-0 in the last 2 weeks and all fantasy sports. 8-0. I mean, the boy is cooking that gas, bitch. Listen, these are the things that keeps me coming back for more. Listen, it's like playing a shitty round of golf, right? Playing a shitty round of golf. You're going into 18. And you look over to your buddy's scorecard and you're beating them by damn 8 strokes. You know what I mean? You're feeling, at least you're winning that. You know what I'm saying? It keeps you coming back. When you're on 18, you hit a bomb drive. Next thing you know, you got a birdie look. Of course you miss it. But you tap in a little Parski and everything is right with the world. You know what I mean? That's what this is. When you look at a team that only put up 105 in my other league, but I sneak by on the dub, keeps you coming back for more next week. When your team is 7-2, this league I'm only 4-5. But like I said, I got a team now. So, bottom line, that's what I'm working with. I'm going against my boy Trey this week in this league. I'm projected about 129. Team's looking solid this week. His team's looking a little decent. Nothing crazy. I think I feel pretty solid about this week. Dang, he actually has George Pickens in that wide receiver 2 spot. So Trey, if you're watching, I'm sorry about talking shit about that wide receiver 2. I didn't even know, bro, I swear. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what I got for you for this week. Been a hell of a week. So if the if you know, I mean, if the energy was a little bit down on the podcast this week, that's a little bit why. Hopefully, I brought a little pizzazz to you. You know what I'm saying? But much love for the people that are out there watching, supporting, subscribing, and shit. You know what I mean? I love you. And if you're not, might as well, you know, join the boy every week. Why not now? But much love. Hope you guys have a great week. Enjoy the Thursday night football game tonight. Bears, Carolina. We'll see how that goes. Hard Rock Sports Bet is back in action, so maybe even get a little parlay going. Who's to say? But remember, it's not your grandma's fantasy football podcast. You can't silence the lamb. Remember to be nice and caring and loving to everybody that's in your life, and you know, make somebody smile every day. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm trying to be motivational or something. You know what I'm saying? Say something nice to somebody. I don't know. But be a good person. Love everyone. And I'll see you guys next week. Ooh.